All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar hosted by talentmanagementtech.com, TMT for short. I'm Brent Skinner, Editor-in-Chief of TMT, an online destination for buyers and sellers of talent management technologies and services. When you visit our site, by the way, you have instant, no-cost access to the web's most comprehensive directory of such vendors, more than 1,000 of them. Our site also allows anyone in the HR industry to register and post PR, for example, news releases, white papers, and so forth, to their profiles. Once signed up, you may even blog at TMT. Again, this is all for free. So if you haven't checked it out yet over at TMT, be sure to do so after this webinar, which is also free. And thank you for attending. Today's webinar, Enter the Choices for the Enterprise. Large organizations face wide selection of talent acquisition systems. It's presented by Madeline Lorano, principal at Bersin & Associates. Her related study for Bersin & Associates, titled Talent Acquisition Systems 2009, Facts, Practice, Analysis, Trends, and Provider Profiles, provides the basis for today's presentation. Bersin & Associates is the only research and advisory firm focused solely on research in enterprise learning, talent management, and talent acquisition. By the way, TMT and Bersin & Associates would both like to thank MrTed for sponsoring this webinar today. Because of MrTed's sponsorship, we are able to present this webinar free to all of you, our attendees. And I should mention that Jerome Kerning, CEO and founder of MrTed, is a panelist on this call alongside Madeline and will be presenting a few slides later on during the webinar. MrTed is a leading provider of on-demand talent acquisition solutions designed to help companies of all sizes optimize the process of acquiring local talent on a global scale. MrTed is, in fact, a pioneering firm in this area. So now, just a little bit more about Madeline. Madeline Lorano is responsible for Bersin & Associates research in talent acquisition, an area which includes workforce planning, sourcing strategies, screening and assessments, RPO, employer branding, and onboarding. Prior to joining Bersin & Associates, Madeline served as the research director for ERE Media, where she created the ERE webinar series, published the Talent Acquisition Industry Analysis and Buyer's Guide, led community discussion groups, and had responsibility for various research products and services. Madeline also worked as a research analyst for the Aberdeen Group and research director for Linkage Incorporated, where she co-edited best practices in leading a global workforce and secrets in succession planning. Madeline, thank you very much for being here today, and I now give you the floor.
Thanks so much, Brent, and hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today to talk about a topic that really continues to be one of the more popular topics in talent acquisition today. Entering the choices for the enterprise, large organizations face wide selection of talent acquisition systems. So despite all of the talk out there about hiring freezes and layoffs and employment furloughs, talent acquisition technology is still so critical for organizations. And with hundreds and hundreds of providers to choose from, even at the enterprise level, organizations still feel overwhelmed with selecting and implementing these systems. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. So a little bit of information about Bersin & Associates, for those of you who aren't familiar with who we are and what we do. We are a research and consulting firm. We specialize in enterprise learning and talent management. And this past year, we are very excited because we just started our new talent acquisition research library. So we are covering this area very extensively through all areas of talent acquisition and workforce planning, and with case studies, industry studies, research reports, research bulletins, blogs. We are trying to answer all of the questions and challenges that organizations are facing. And just a lot of people think that we just sell individual reports, but we also offer a research membership program, which includes all of that information I just went over, as well as access to the analysts. So, if you have a question that's specific to your organization, specific to your hiring needs, you can email an analyst at Bersin & Associates, and we respond within 24 hours, or you can set up a phone call or have us come in and talk to your organization as well. So as Brent mentioned, we just launched a huge report on talent acquisition systems. And it's a combination of both qualitative and quantitative research. We profiled 17 of the leading providers. And you'll see that MrTed, again, who I want to thank for sponsoring this webinar, is included in this report. We also conducted some quantitative research for companies out there looking at customer satisfaction, looking at trends, looking at best practices. And while there's a lot of information out there on talent acquisition systems, it's certainly a very mature market, there aren't a lot of research reports that cover some of the areas that we looked at, like customer satisfaction, market growth, market potential, best practices in selecting and implementing these systems, which is exactly what we're going to focus on today. So what are we going to talk about exactly? So we're going to first look at the talent acquisition systems market. We're going to get an overview there, and the growth. I mean, despite a year of layoffs, furloughs, hiring freezes, talent acquisition still matters, and that's really been the key message that we've seen throughout the year. It still matters to organizations, and the systems market is still growing considerably. We're going to look at the enterprise talent acquisition system market, so really how those larger organizations define talent acquisition systems and how these systems have evolved from just the PC-based systems of the past to web-based systems, and now we're starting to see next-generation talent acquisition systems. Then we'll look at market consolidation. I think a lot of people think buyers wouldn't be interested in consolidation, mergers, and acquisitions that happens with these providers, but it's very important. It's something that's critical. If you're a talent acquisition customer, systems customer, if you're considering purchasing these solutions, you need to think about market consolidation, and there's a lot of rumors out there, so we're going to address those. Recommendations for buyers. What you need to consider as a buyer is much more than just functionality and much more than just price. So we're going to look at all of those factors. And then we're going to look at implementation best practices. So one of the greatest challenges, I think a lot of people think, wow, this is so challenging having to narrow down from hundreds and hundreds of providers to just 5 or 4 or 3, and we've done it. We've made our selection, and we feel really good about it. But the challenging part often is just that implementation. It can bring up a lot of issues, both within your organization and externally too, that you might not have been considering. So some best practices to follow there. Then cases in point. I think the best way to really learn is through the examples of best practice companies. So we're going to talk about those. And then we're going to talk about predictions. So everyone seems to have an opinion there, and I'm certainly going to weigh in as well. So again, the talent acquisition systems market is growing. I know a lot of people find this hard to believe, but we did a lot of research, we collected a lot of data, and it is absolutely still growing. And it's not only did it grow this year, but it will also continue to grow over the next 5 years by 10%. So again, this growth at the enterprise level, so it's a very saturated market. Most companies do have a talent acquisition system. Where is this growth coming from, you might ask? Well, it's coming from global expansion, it's coming from market churn, and it's coming from companies that are looking to move onto one talent acquisition system rather than just have a bunch of disparate systems or homegrown systems in place. So planning to invest in a talent acquisition system. And Patrick, at this time, if you could launch a poll. I think we have a poll question here. Great, and I think that should be up on the screen now. We'll just give it another minute. And really looking to see if you're a company that is planning to invest in talent acquisition. Okay, if we can close that poll now and share those results. Great, and for some reason I can't see them, but
looks like about 37% of